Okay, so Hare Krishna, dear ladies. Welcome to the March Urban Devi Sangha and Women's Discussion Group. A special welcome to those joining us for the first time. If you are joining us for the first time, please write it in the chat so that we can all say hello. I promise this is a very friendly crowd. And my name is Damodar Priya Devi Dasi, and I co-host this monthly gathering with our dear Rukmini Walker and Surabhi Govinda Devi Dasi. So let me introduce our speaker for today. Today we have Rukmini Poddar, and she is the author of Draw Your Feelings, a creative journal to help connect with your emotions through art, which was published by Penguin Random House. And she grew up within the Bhakti tradition and spent 4 years living and serving at the Bhakti Center in New York City. She has found her creative voice in participating in the 100-Day Project for over 9 consecutive years. And she's best known for drawing her emotions to give life to her emotions. And she teaches people how to draw their emotions and leads workshops with corporate teams, schools, and large gatherings of over 400 people. So today, Rukmini Poddar is going to be speaking on becoming an essence seeker, how creativity can bring us closer to the divine. And just a little bit about this. So she says, by nature, we're all inherently creative, conscious beings, and our creativity offers us a bridge to not only express our emotions, but also to understand and dive into our inner world. So today we're going to cultivate our creativity in order to connect with our emotions and ultimately our divine source. So this session is going to be informative and experiential. We're going to be practicing drawing our feelings together. So we just need some paper and some basic art supplies so that we can engage our creativity and see how it can teach us more about our inner world and our relationship to Krishna. So welcome. We're so excited to have you, Rukmini Poddar. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi, Paul, and hi, welcome. Hello, everyone. This is so special to be here. Thank you, Damodar Priya, for the beautiful introduction. Thank you, Rukmini Walker, Surabhi Govinda. So this is something I've been actually looking forward to for a while. So I'm really grateful to be here with everyone. I'm a little new to this Sangha, to this gathering. So if you want to maybe even put in the chat where you're zooming in from, or if this is your first time here, I would love to know where are you all coming from. What is your if you're familiar with this group, if it's your first time, would love to just get a sense of this gathering. If you feel comfortable turning on your camera, that is more than welcome. I know not everyone is able to, but if you can turn on your camera, it's a nice sense to get a feeling that we're here in community. Hi, Devi Vrindavan. Lovely to see you. If anyone else wants to turn on their camera, that's great too. So as Damodar Priya said, this will be an informative session, but really an experiential session. And I do a lot of workshops about creativity, but I don't often talk about this intersection of creativity and spirituality. Which is something that's close to my heart. And yet this is one of my first times really bridging that and talking from that perspective. So I am looking forward to that. It's going to be a bit interactive, so I might ask some questions and you can post in the chat. If we have a small enough group, you can also feel free to unmute and share a little bit more. I see some friends who are joining from Netherlands, from UK, from Maryland. So beautiful and special. Feel free to share any more in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into it because we have a lot planned today. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Let's see. Damodar Priya, could you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen okay? And hear me okay? Is it all good? All right. Great. So welcome, everyone. We are talking about creativity, the divine, and something I like to call, what does it mean to be an essence seeker? So I'm going to dive right in, and I want to open it up with this question. What does it mean to be creative?
Sorry, Rukmini Poddar, it's actually
Yeah.
showing your art playlist instead of the presentation.
Well, thank you for that.
No worries.
Thanks for sharing.
Which
I've
is a
once
great
done a
playlist, so.
Yeah, I was that might come later on. Let's see, new share, desktop too. Okay, can you see it now? Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I've once done a presentation where for 15 minutes it showed the wrong screen, so I'm glad you shared this. So, okay, the question is, what does it mean to be creative? Now, this is a very broad, open-ended question, and we might have our own definitions. But again, if you want to think about it for a moment, if you want to even share in the chat, what does creativity mean to you? For many of us, it might mean making artwork, singing. Creativity might be something that feels far off and distant, something that those art geniuses can do. Or creativity feels very familiar, something that feels like coming home, feels natural. I see some beautiful responses. Creativity feels like new ideas. It feels like freedom, time for myself. Yes.
It's the opposite of destructive energy.
Oh, I love that. Yes, thank you, Rukmini. It's the opposite of destructive energy. It's possibilities, the expression of inner urges, expressing your inner world. Okay, you guys are on it. These are great definitions. And I think they're all true. I think we can define it in different ways. I mean, of course, creativity, one, the ability to create, which is actually, yes, the opposite of destructing is creating. But I also see creativity. Oh no, one second. Where did that go? Wow, I think that just deleted. Okay, give me one second.
It's okay. We do have we mentioned Krishna and he gets in a very mischievous mood.
Yeah.
So
Disruptive. Yes, there's sometimes disruption can even be a form of creativity to have us think a little differently. But you just take this second to share a little bit more into the chat if you like. So, creativity is a way to make meaning. Meaning from our stories, meaning from our pain, and meaning from our emotions. So creativity also, it connects us to our heart. It connects us to what's really within us. And so I like to think about this also as a way to bring creativity in the context of spirituality and our relationship with God, with Krishna. Because how do we connect to God if we are creatively blocked? If creativity means connecting to our heart and we don't feel creative, then how do we connect to others? How do we connect to ourselves? And of course, how do we connect to the divine source if we're blocked? And that's where creativity can be so important. In this definition, I can also see creativity being a form of prayer. Because if we're connecting to the heart, if we're connecting to possibilities, connection, that is also a form of prayer, which can be really important as well. So, and now with taking that definition, taking these thoughts about what is creativity, I want to talk about what is it to be an essence seeker. And this is a drawing that I'd done a few years back. And if you're familiar with different sacred texts, especially with the Bhakti texts, this term, the essence seeker, is there a lot. This metaphor of the bee that only goes to the flower, takes the nectar, the essence, transforms it. So this metaphor is something really beautiful. And I love just the idea of being an essence seeker. So I'm going to break it down in 4 illustrations because sometimes I can explain things best through art. And I wrote this little manifesto, how to be an essence seeker. So number 1, make a habit of noticing all the things that make your heart sing. Notice it. Is it the beauty of the sky, of the flowers, of the hummingbirds, the laughing of children next to you? The minute you begin to bring your awareness and notice these small joys, you're already opening your heart. You're noticing something different than what your day-to-day is. So that's the first step, noticing and making it a habit. The second is to become an investigator of all beautiful things. Now, beauty is subjective, but beauty also is what opens the heart up to awe and wonder. And so in this image, the person is following the honeybees. They're investigating. So now you're drawing your awareness and you're starting to chase after things that make your heart sing, things that feel meaningful in life. Number 3, this is important. You need to be able to step into the mud in order to find the essence. So sometimes the most beautiful flowers grow out of the mud. And again, the job of an essence seeker is that you will be in dirty, muddy, confusing, chaotic places in life, but still you're searching for the essence. You're searching for what is real, for what is beautiful, and what is meaningful. We're coming back to that word, meaningful. So again, in this image, the bees are still going to the flower no matter where it's growing, even in the dirtiest of places. If you can find one spark of beauty, then you're starting to tune your essence seeking skills. And I would say number 4, if you're coming around full circle, be a broadcaster of good things. Share. So sharing. So if you're doing all of that, you're collecting the essence, you're running after the honeybees and the flowers, but you're not sharing it, you're not completing the loop of what it means to be an essence seeker. And sharing, another form of sharing is expression, creativity, art. So when you're writing, you're journaling, you're making poetry, you're singing songs, you're drawing, you're even posting things and thoughts and sending emails or whatever it is, that's expression. And that's called being a broadcaster. And if you can tune your heart to be a broadcaster of these good things, well, then you have just become an essence seeker. So who here would like to be an essence seeker? I think many of you already are. I think we all are. And I think the beauty of a spiritual practice, of a spiritual life, is that we really aim to become essence seekers of the world. We find God in all things. We find divine source in all things. We find beauty and meaning, and we share it with others. And I think that definition is so universal and heart-opening, and so connected to the idea of what is an artist? What is the job of an artist? A collector, and then a distributor. And so this can be our anchor for today, our meditation of the essence seeker. So I'm going to share some quotes about creativity and spirituality that I really love. A lot of them are from Julia Cameron. I don't know if you're familiar. She wrote The Artist's Way, which was published in 1970. It is a huge, it's a phenomenon in the world of how popular it is, but it's also deeply spiritual, deeply religious. And she talks so much about creativity as a gift of God. So here, when we move toward our own creativity, we move toward our creator. When we seek to become more spiritual, we find ourselves becoming more creative. So creativity and spirituality are closely interconnected. They are in effect one and the same thing. I think this is really beautiful, because I think when we come to a spiritual practice, a spiritual life, when we want to deepen our relationship with God, sometimes, especially sometimes in an institution or however it is, it can feel that we are told to sort of leave our individual creative spark. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that really deeply, creativity and spirituality are very connected. And if we can lean into that creativity, we can actually feel more of that connection with our spiritual essence. So creativity is God's gift to us, and using our creativity is our gift back to God. I love that. And for me, this is important to come back to again and again, because we're all creative. I believe every person, every child on this planet is creative, because we're coming from that source of creation. Sometimes we forget it. Sometimes we deny it. I think we all have conflicting relationships with creativity. If I was to ask everyone here, what's your relationship with creativity? Some might say it feels like a close friend, that I am so creative, I love it. And a lot of us might feel that creativity feels like a very distant relative or friend, someone that we want to be connected to, but we feel hesitant. Some of us feel that creativity is only for the geniuses of the world. But this quote reminds us that it's our God inherited gift. It's our birthright. And when we use that creativity, it's a service to God. And so again, this is really helpful if we're ever feeling that to draw, to paint, to sing is sort of unnecessary or superfluous. Maybe that's the word. Basically, yes, we feel that it's a little like play, it's child's play. But what if we think about it as service? I think that can really change our paradigm. I also love this idea that faith is the bottom line of creativity. It actually requires a leap of faith anytime we undertake a creative endeavor, whether it's going to the page, the easel, or stage. How cool is that? Because to write anything in the world, to share it, to make a piece of art is such a deep act of courage. Because you're putting something that wasn't there into the world earlier. You're trusting your inner voice, and you're really having faith that your voice has value. And I think that's really powerful. And I think that when we start to see our creative practice as this a practice that requires a lot of faith, then we can see how that's connected in our spiritual practice. And this is one, I found this online and I just love it. It says, to the creative force, and you can shift that to God, to the divine energy, to Krishna, however you want to write that. You take care of the quality of the work. I'll take care of showing up and doing the work. And I think this is almost like a prayer. Julia Cameron also writes it as, Dear God, you take care of the quality, I take care of the quantity, which is amazing, amazing for anyone who feels stuck in perfectionism, anyone who feels like they feel scared to put something out. It's not your job to make it amazing. Your job is to just show up and express from your heart. God's job is there to make the quality come out of you. And when we start to have that experience of creativity, we start to see this beautiful dance, this beautiful synchronicity, almost like a collaboration between this divine energy, or God, and what he wants to come out of us and what we want to share. And you'll start noticing the things you write, the things you say, the things you sing, start to feel like it's coming from a deeper place. And you start to feel more and more like an instrument, actually, that somehow this is coming out of you. And I deeply believe that there are some incredible artists in history and even now that have that experience, musicians who have that experience, even us. We might, it's not that uncommon that we'll draw something, we'll write something, we'll say, where did that come from? And I believe seeing it as it's coming from a deeper divine place is so, so faith-giving and so inspiring. And I don't feel that all the time in my life, but the moments that I have, it gives a lot of faith for me. And it's sort of an anchor in my own spiritual life. So I wanted to share this as sort of a container to get us thinking about creativity differently, to get us inspired about the ways creativity and spirituality come together. Now, this is kind of just to catch your attention. On one side is Rukmini of today, on one side is Rukmini of 30 years ago. But I want to talk a little bit about my story, just because I think it's helpful to hear personal stories and what I've received from my creative journey. So the same image, just kind of drew a pencil and a book on, on the baby. It's amazing also, just this image, you see changing bodies right here, that the body has really shifted in 30 years, and yet somehow this creative essence has stayed inside. So I wanted to start with that to just grab your attention. This is the 100-day project. So what can you do in 100 days? I like to share this because a lot of my creative journey really came alive when I did something called the 100-day project, which is a global art project that encourages everyone to do something every day for 100 days that's creative. Now, I have participated in it for about 9 years. I have not always finished it, but I think just saying yes to it and beginning it is really powerful. And I just want to share a little bit of the artwork that I've created. Again, to simply just inspire what's possible and to just share my own journey in case that inspires yours. So 8 years ago, I started to draw emotions. I started to draw obscure emotions, things that we all feel that we don't often talk about, like what it feels like when we're very sensitive and a feather feels like a mountain, or when we have public confidence but private doubts, or what it feels like to get to the heart of a difficult conversation. And I want to share some of my realizations I had from doing this year after year. I wrote this little list some years ago that has ended up being like my guiding light about what kind of art I create. And one is that I like to create art that makes me uncomfortable, because that means I'm beginning to be a little honest, introspective. I like to create art that allows me to be imperfect and incomplete, because again, showing up and just producing what we have without perfection is really an important part of the journey. I learned that honesty will always be attractive. So no matter what you're putting out in the world, if it's honest, it will attract someone. And so this is a great practice. I learned that what is most personal is most universal. So whatever is deeply, deeply personal, what we're going through that feels so specific is actually really universal. So again, art and creativity helps connect us to this wider truth. My art is personal, intimate, private, yet completely public. At least I try to do that, not all the time, but the idea that sharing what's personal with others, that's again part of that broadcasting, part of that being an essence seeker. I believe in quantity over quality. I literally have had people ask if this is a typo. They said, you mean quality? And I said, no, quantity. In certain cases, I do believe in quantity because when you're producing the quantity, the quality will come. And when you're producing the quantity, you're basically showing up for your creativity, for the divine, for God, and saying, I'm just doing my job here. Even if it looks terrible, that's not my job. Quality is your job. You do quality control. That 100 days will pass, whether I create art or I don't. That time is always passing. To broadcast my doubts is important. That my story is as much as yours as it is mine. We are connected with a lot of these themes in life. And, after drawing my emotions for many, many years, I'm still trying to still trying to come to this realization that I'm not my emotions. I'm a witness. So I wanted to simply share that, share some images. And again, what I'm really trying to show is how to cultivate thoughtfulness, how to share that, how art can be sort of like a trigger for asking deeper spiritual questions. So although my art isn't directly connected to God, I feel that a lot of it captures my process of grappling with being a spiritual person in a material world, with having these questions, with asking what is it like, to deal with the mind, to look for joy, to have difficult feelings, to try to rise and lift my consciousness. So a lot of the artwork that I create is really about these themes. And yes, I just wanted to show a little bit more, again, themes about what is in me that's wanting to come out, where is my voice? How is it stuck there? What is it that I'm wanting to say? What part of me is unacknowledged? And in the last few years, a lot of what I've done is sharing that online, encouraging others to do that through online workshops, in-person workshops, things like that. And let's see. And really the essence of what I want to share and teach is that creativity is our birthright. Creativity is part of the nature of the soul. And creativity is inherently healing, that when we engage in our creativity, we're really healing a part of ourselves and each other because we're expressing our hearts. And a lot of my creative journey is really propelled by this question: who am I? And this is inherently a spiritual question of who am I at my essence? What is there at my core? And this is a question I believe we all carry to some degree. And so I really am passionate about encouraging people to explore this question and all these questions of life through creative means, through drawing about it and writing about it, because sometimes being in the question can be more powerful than getting the answer right away. And I think that's where creativity is, the superpower of creativity is that it has us be in the question. It has us wonder a little bit more. It has us be in a state of awe. Coming back to that image of the essence seeker, it has us look for the essence, to long for what is true and real, to search for it. Very often we kind of get the questions too quickly. Okay, this is who God is. This is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But that answer doesn't really sit in us because we haven't given ourselves enough time to really wonder about it. And so I like to say the most important journey you'll ever take is the one inside of you. And creativity has this amazing way to pull us inside, to have us ask questions, to have us create things that are thought-provoking, meaningful. And so the spiritual journey is the same. The spiritual journey is vast and endless and beautiful, and it all happens inside of us. It begins with asking this question: who am I? What is my relationship to God? What am I supposed to be doing? And so, again, the two are very connected. I like to also show this image. It's in my book as well, but we usually focus on the outside self. This is the self that the whole world sees. This is the self that we use to introduce ourselves to others, our appearance, our family, our education, our social status. But what about my inside self? It's currently a mystery. And again, I'm really just bringing this point home that creativity and spirituality, they answer these questions. What is the self inside? Or creativity supports this spiritual journey. So I have a exercise that we're going to do a little bit of a larger exercise, but this is something that won't take more than 3-4 minutes. And I want us to engage in something a little interactive. So now that we shared a lot about creativity and hopefully brought some inspiration and some thoughts, I want you to grab a piece of paper wherever you're at. And I'm going to show this image. So on one side is you. On the other side, it's also you. And in between is a journey. In between is what we call the messy, beautiful, non-linear journey of growth. And all of us have some journey between our previous self and our current self. So this can be your journey of life. What does that look like? This can be your spiritual journey. But I just want to show how even drawing and expressing can be done in less than 20 seconds if you want. So on a piece of paper, if you want to even just draw 2 stick figures or 2 shapes that represent your previous self, and on the other side, it's your current self. And again, this is a bit of an open-ended exercise, but I want you to just think of what has that journey been like from your previous self to who you are now? What does that life journey look like? Has it been pretty straightforward? Has it been full of ups and downs and looked like a roller coaster? Has it been, really dramatic? Has it been, so much can be shown through a little bit of drawing. And what this is doing, it's having us think in non-linear ways. It's having us to play a little bit. So for the next 2 minutes, nothing longer than 2 minutes, I want you to grab a pencil, a marker, whatever, and draw a line that connects these 2 figures, but draw it in whatever form, shape you like that symbolizes your journey. And I don't want you to overthink it. I want you to just have fun and just see what comes up for you. Does that make sense to everyone? Do we have any questions before we try that out? Dharma Priya, Mother Rukmini, sounds okay? Okay.
Yeah, I already did mine. That was so cool.
Okay. All right. Let's give it another 30 seconds or
Yeah,
so. And
that's
if
great. I
anyone,
never would have thought to do this.
yes, it's interesting. Okay, I'll give you maybe 10 seconds to go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute so we come back to this space. Okay. Some of you might still be creating. That's okay. But since we're a small enough group, and if this is okay, Damodar Priya, if anyone wants to even share their drawing and maybe unmute themselves and just share what's there if you feel confident and comfortable doing that. And maybe just share what came up for you. Again, we're not expecting anything special. We know we gave you only 30 seconds.
Yeah, I can go, Rukmini.
Yes, please.
I don't know how this is going to show up, but can you see that?
Yeah, oh, I can.
All right, well, the quick thing is the change of heart that goes throughout life. The heart gets smaller and bigger and smaller and bigger, and we're trying to keep it big and open, right?
Oh, what a beautiful expression. I just love it. The journey of a changing heart. Thank you, Surabhi. What a great expression. Would anyone else like to share their quick drawing?
And if you are going to share, if you have a background like mine where it's blurred, just make sure you turn that off because it's not going to show up.
And if you want to do the raised hand feature, that's always easy. Just click that. You can unmute you if you'd like to share. Divya
if
from
nobody else is going to, yeah, there you go.
Oh, Hare Krishna, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I've got my headphones on.
Yes.
This is mine.
Oh, look at that.
So this is me, I guess,
Mhm.
pre-Bhakti, would you say? I don't know if it's pre-Bhakti this necessarily or not, but 7 or 8 years ago, then I traveled music, then kirtan, and then a bit of a dark hole in between. And then coming back up, and I instinctively drew myself as a flower trying to grow, which I don't know where that came from. It's pretty cool. And then I'm trying to grow. I was thinking about the weeds of the Bhakti beige and just trying to hold myself upright. But yeah, it was cool. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
so beautiful. Thank you, Divya Vrindavan. I just love it. I think it's miraculous what we can draw in 30 seconds if we give ourselves the time and space. So much expression. And so thank you both for sharing and for everyone who participated. Even if you just look at your own drawing and just look at it for a second, you can see what story is here? What meaning can I make out of it? It can be the simplest drawing where maybe there's just a little few lines, but once you start wondering and questioning and looking at what you created, even the simplest stick figure has some meaning and some thought. And what's beautiful is that we can also share it with each other, and it becomes a way of storytelling. This is my story. This is what I've experienced. Lolita, did you want to share?
Yeah, I did two as well. You can see that.
Oh, yes, I can see. You might just need it. Perfect.
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so I just I kind of took it in like the literal sense, but I was like, okay, there's my like suitcase with my traveling, there's like my education or reading, etc. And then I just had a baby recently, so there's a little baby.
Ah.
But like I just kind of like accidentally, I don't know, like subconsciously like drew like one flower over here. And then like I thought like maybe this is kind of like your journey. It's just like you're gathering these flowers, like gathering these like memories, and that's what I came up with.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing. I love how your current self is holding this bouquet of flowers that you've gathered along the way. And I think what you noticed is such a perfect way of looking at our artwork is to ask these questions, because when we're creating it, very often our inner critic will come in and say things like, oh, that doesn't look very good, or whatever that voice is. But so often, if you look a little deeper, there'll be something there that'll teach us something about ourselves. So thank you all so much for sharing. And I think that was a nice way to go a little bit deeper into the next part of the presentation. 1 second. Okay, so this was the messy, beautiful, nonlinear journey to growth. And you can always keep playing with this exercise at different points and try it out. There's so many ways to draw this journey and how a single line can represent so much. So I want this to move us into something a little more experiential, like we just tried, and to do a little bit more drawing. I want to say that anyone can draw. So if there's someone here right now saying, oh boy, I have not picked up a coloring pencil since I was 7 years old. I don't think I'm in the right Zoom group right now. I want to tell you that I firmly believe anyone can draw. You can ask your 5-year-old self, but drawing and creating is it's so natural. Look at all children. Look at how they boldly declare they're an artist. Something happens when we grow up that makes us really doubt this creativity. I find that really interesting. I think it tells us a lot about ourselves when we look at even our creative journey. And that's something you can ask yourselves too, that what is my relationship with creativity? Did you enjoy drawing as a kid? What happened when you got a little bit older? Very often there's something that happens maybe around like age 8 or 10 that can be really formative. And this is like another topic for another time, but whose voices have either stopped you, shrunk you, or helped you like really blossom. And that's something interesting, that there's always people in our life, parents, teachers, friends, that sort of like might say or do something that inhibits us or that encourages us. And it's never too late to tap into our creative energy. Like we said earlier, creativity is such an act of courage and faith, and also spiritual expression. So as we're all here in this group and we're wanting to connect deeper in our spiritual lives, we might also think like, wow, how can drawing and artwork be something that connects me a little bit deeper? So again, these are just things to consider. Whoopsie. So I want to take some time and go through an exercise called drawing your heart, draw your heart map. This is something I've done many, many times. You'll see there's a whole collage here of heart maps. They've collected hundreds of them over the years. And it's one of my favorite exercises to do with people because it's universal. We all are familiar with the heart. And yet the heart is a mystery. The heart is the seat of emotion. The heart is also the connection point to the divine source, to God, to Krishna. It's where that place of prayer comes. You can't really engage in a spiritual relationship if your heart's not into it. And also heart is where emotions are at. So it's really connected to acknowledge the emotions we might be feeling and to see what's in my heart. Is there faith? Is there love? But there might also be, there might be pain and trauma and doubt, and there might be fear. And until that's honestly acknowledged, we can't really access the heart and go deeper. And so a lot of times life, social life and society is really meant to take us away from our heart, meant to distract us in every way, meant to get us in our head. But creativity brings us into our heart. So what I'm going to encourage us to do is to do a heart map and to draw our heart together. And then we will go into breakout rooms and be able to share that with each other. So I'm going to, and this is a prompt actually that I like to share. So how much can the heart expand? Again, the essence, the beauty of art is that it makes us ask powerful questions. And so how much can the heart expand? Oh my goodness, sorry about that. How much can the heart expand? And so again, how many people can it hold? How much can it forgive? Is there space for my shadows? How many times can I love? These are all powerful questions to ask. And so what I want to do is give us a chance to think about what's in our hearts, to draw it out and to use that as a way to share that with others or to just understand what's happening for us. So I know not everyone can maybe do the breakout rooms, but let's see what we have time for. I might have even finished up this presentation a little quicker than expected. So Damodar Priya, do you think it would be helpful to go into the breakout rooms and draw, or can we use a little time to maybe draw here together? And
So we're finishing the presentation part right now, then that gives us an extra 5 minutes in breakout rooms that can be
okay,
used for everyone to kind of draw quietly. And then I can send kind of like a little warning to let people
perfect.
know that the 5 minutes are over, and then it could be discussion, and that'll give everybody time to talk.
Perfect. So that's what we'll do. The prompt
Okay.
will be, again, whatever paper and coloring supplies you do. The prompt is to draw your heart map and fill it with whatever colors represent what's in your heart, whatever shapes, labels. If you're feeling a little stuck on where to start, just have fun with it and fill it with whatever colors and shapes come to mind. And then afterwards, your mind will begin to interpret it and say, okay, that's what this is. But again, don't be afraid of the blank canvas. Fill it up, allow yourself to have this experience of play and curiosity, because I do assure you that the minute you actually engage in the process, something will come up. And usually it allows for really great discussion. So Damodar Priya will send a little announcement in the breakout room. And what you can do is you can then share with your partner, what did you create? And most importantly, what did you discover about yourself? So if that all sounds good, I think we can do that. And we can come back a little bit. We can have enough time to debrief as a group and share and conclude together. I think that would be really great.
Great.
Okay, amazing. Welcome back, everyone. That was super sweet. I'm so curious to hear of other people's experiences engaging in this process and hearing from others. Like I said, I've done a lot of heart maps, and every time, I mean, it's so beautiful just to hear what a few colors and shapes, like the discussions that come from it. And the amazing thing is that every heart map is unique and totally personal. So I also feel sometimes I've told a friend in the past that, man, if we all just walk around with our heart maps and we show each other, what a beautiful world that would be. That just say like, oh, this is my heart on a piece of paper. Like, here you go, treat it nicely. Show me yours. It would just, remove those boundaries, and we would feel really connected in an honest and pure way. So I want to just share that. that heart maps make the world a better place, as does creativity and that spiritual connection. So with that being said, if anyone would like to share their experience of their heart map or just the discussions, would love to hear from you. You can simply unmute or you can even raise a virtual hand. If you go to the reactions button on the bottom, that might be the easiest way to do it. Would love to hear any discoveries that you made in this session. Yeah, Parijata, go for it.
Yeah, so I think that just this whole exercise to put the focus on the heart was just so lovely, because I think a lot of times we come from the place of the mind, that it's all the mind, the chatter, and there's so much happening in that space, but most of our expressions are actually coming from the heart. And I think this exercise that you just got all of us to talk about what's in the heart, and brought the emphasis on the heart, was really lovely. And just what you said a while back, that if we could actually have that paper, our heart, and if we would actually be mindful that somebody also has their heart. And how we need to be so careful that we deal with each other, because I am making an impression on somebody's heart. And I think for us, because we are all on probably the spiritual path, it's even more deeper, because Krishna is in that heart. And so that brings I think so much enrichment in that connection that we can have with Krishna in our heart, and how we can connect to another person and to the Krishna in their heart. So that was just lovely. Thank you for that exercise. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that reflection. That is so beautiful. Yes, the Krishna in our heart and in others' hearts. It's such a sacred space. Thank you, Parijata.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to share any reflections or questions as well? Yeah, Sharmila, go for it.
Hare Krishna. I think this is a great tool, especially with children, and to help them for them to express and share their emotions. I think this heart map is something we can ask the kids, how is your heart feeling today, instead of how are you feeling today? And that's what I read somewhere, that it brings out more expression and sharing when we do that. I think this is a great tool, and thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you so much. That's such a great point. We had this discussion in our little breakout group as well, that kids are just fearlessly creative. It just comes out of them. They're boundless, and there's so much there. So it's great to tap into that. And the question of how is your heart is always so much more poignant. And even with kids, what color is your heart? What is the shape of your heart? Is it a little deflated? Is it really big? Is it small? Like, all these questions and visualizations can be so much more for a richer conversation. Thank you. Anyone else? And if anyone wants to share their heart map that they drew, we would love to see it as well.
I have a question, Rukmini Poddar, while everybody kind of gets their courage up. I was wondering, how does one help those who have been traumatized with creativity? And to clarify that, for example, like when they were younger, they tried to draw something and it was shared either by a teacher or someone else, and the person like put it down. So now that person really refuses to draw anything, doesn't want to do anything creative because they have got it into their head that they're not an artist, so they can't do it. So how do we help people that are kind of going through that?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think it's universal too, whether we feel that or not. We've all had some sort of creative pain and judgment, and if not by others, like from ourselves as well. And it can be it's such a deep wound, the creative wound. I think a lot of creative healing can happen by doing creativity for ourselves, like really, really keeping it private, really coming from this place of being in the process of creativity and not focusing on the results. a lot of this like kind of traumatization or whatever happens from looking at the results. Is it beautiful or not? Did we color in the lines or not? It's a very perfectionistic mindset. And it's really terrible because it creates comparison and competition, and it loses the whole essence of creativity, which is pure expression. And it's really allowing the voice of the heart to be heard. And so I think having practices that are really private can help, creating for yourself, journaling, things like that. And I think thinking of creativity and prayer together is a really interesting dimension too, like we talked about, that how can creativity be your way of calling out to the divine, to the God that you worship, and yeah, that you're beloved of the heart. And I think being able to think of it in that immediately will create some healing. Thank you, Lilita.
No, I mean, I think that traumatization is like so real. It's such a real experience. Like, I mean, I've had like a couple instances in my life, like one particular, like I was in 5th grade and I was like doodling in my notebook or something like that. And a teacher was like, stop doing this. You're like, making a mess of the page or whatever. And like, I like straight up for a year, like didn't do that anymore. Like I was like kind of a little scarred as a kid because of that like chastisement basically. But I just ended up, I mean, what Rukmini says is like totally accurate. Like I kind of like went within and I got like all these journals together and I just like kept doing it in the journals and then eventually I was able to like regain the confidence and like go to art school and everything like that. But yeah, I mean that definitely exists. So and then another point that like also came to mind is I've been at those like paint and sips that are pretty popular. Sometimes they're like alcoholic drinks are there and sometimes they're not, but basically like everyone like paints the same thing kind of like side by side. And they're just like following along like with the artist. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I feel like sometimes you may get like too caught up in like just trying to do it exactly like the artist, just trying to like replicate the work.
Yeah.
And that you kind of lose that like creative spark of just like putting a paintbrush to the canvas, which you probably haven't done in like years. But your goal is just to kind of like make everybody's the same and you're like right next to each other, like the canvases are like kissing. So you're like even by accident, you're just like looking over at like the other person and like what they're doing. And, it kind of like creates a little bit of like, a little bit of an apprehension. I remember like my niece was like doing one with us because it was like a kid's birthday party. And, she kind of like the look on her face was like, well, I missed a step. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, like, and her mom was like fixing it. And I was like, it's just art, man. Like, it's okay. Like, and she's like 8, so like that like
Yes.
insecurity starts really early where it's like, this is like the place where you like let go. If it's the one place that you can,
Oh
it's
my
in an
gosh.
artist room.
Yes.
So, anyway, just
I
my
have so many thoughts, strong feelings about what you said because I'm on the same page. We really create art as this mass-produced thing where either everything has to look the same or we have to really be so particular with what we're drawing and there's a right way to do art and a wrong way. I feel like that just kills the creative spirit and is really dampening to, just like our personal confidence. And I think it's such a deep problem, actually, because like we explored creativity as a way to express the voice of the soul. It's like so personal and private. And if you're kind of plugging that in from an early age, the message you get is that you're not supposed to express what's there, that you're not allowed to be messy, you're not allowed to be imperfect, you're not allowed to try something new. And all of that is completely against what creativity is. And I think just as much as the creative spirit gets squashed, I think the spiritual heart can also get squashed because that same idea, fall in line, prayer looks like this. You have to dress in this way. God only loves you when you do this. It's a very non-creative way of thinking. And that's why I think when you lose creativity, you lose that like spiritual juice and things start to get dry because without creativity, life is dry. So I really believe also that it can be a big problem. And I think like letting that spark come alive for children now is such a huge service. And simultaneously, like we all have our inner child. So I think tending to that inner child with art is really important. It allows us to feel more free, more comfortable, less of a perfectionist. And also just feeling that whatever we have in our heart, that's good enough for God. That's better. Like he wants what's real for us. He doesn't want this cookie cutter image or this perfect color in the box image. So I think those messagings are really important. Surabhi.
Yeah, actually, I want to follow along on that point. I know we spoke about children in art, and that clearly is a very, very great space to be. But I think I've circled back as I've gone into my 60s, circled back that art and creativity and the heart are the place to monitor all the time. I don't think we should lose sight of it's not just for children. It's sad that when we go into, like, I'm an engineer, stop doing these things. But indeed, you know, so I do stuff. I do mind maps and I do crazy stuff nobody else can read, and I don't really care because, like you said, it's not for anybody else. Look, this is mine. No, it's not going to make sense to anybody. Don't even try.
But I love
You know,
it.
because this is it's my mind map going into what the questions asked and how but because, like you said, it allows me to go deeper, and I think that's the gift, really. And I find out that with I had sort of formal yoga training, and we did the chakras, and there's a lot on the heart, and you know, there's a method to sort of becoming aware of the heart. And I felt like that's one of the big game changers in my life, is when I become aware of where my heart is shrinking or growing. It can be from small incidents, it can be from big. It can be big trauma, or it could be something small, somebody said. But being aware of that was my barometer to say, why do I feel like that? Was it me that was just thinking, why? What did I expect? Like, you know, why am I disappointed? So it became my barometer. And the goal was always to try and keep the heart open and full of good things that I love, right? That should be the goal. And when anything squashes that or creates holes, we want to say, go introspective, understand, what is it that I need to change? What's my strategy? Do I need to move myself from it? Maybe it's a bad boss in a bad job, you know? Maybe it's just, oh, I was expecting so much from this person, you know, that I married, and that's wrong, because I'm not going to change them. I love them for they are. It could be a multitude of things, and in that space you find creativity, because you have to look for things beyond what you already do, beyond what you already know, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to find that space. It's I think it helps me, but it also means that times when I feel my heart is full, I can't take any more people. That question was good. Can I take more? I can't, because sometimes I'm serving, doing so much that I'm overwhelmed. And I know that if I take more or go and get more inputs or engage in another group, I'm just going to be overdone, right?
Yeah.
Because typically it means something that I've got to do for somebody, is what I've seen in life. I've got to serve somebody somewhere. So I've got to be careful of that, because you know, I've got my own issues and pain in the body and stuff to manage. So yeah, that question is, how can I fill my heart with all that I love? And what can I do? And then that means usually, you know, spirituality is that heart is growing and it's pumping, it's moving towards Krishna. It's like my visual in there.
Oh, I love it. What a beautiful reflection. I really love how the awareness you bring to your heart of, is it shrinking, is it expanding, is there holes? I think that's it's a great visual in once, but like you said, it's a practice of knowing where we're at each day, each moment.
I want to thank you, because you inspired me to kind of, I wouldn't have thought about that for myself, and how I envisaged or how I manifested that thinking until I sat down and thought about it, if that makes sense. So thank you so much for that. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Rukmini Devi.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Get this down. Yeah, when I sat down to draw this heart, yeah, there was a lot of foggy, kind of foggy, shadowy places. And so in our group, we talked quite a lot about clouds. And I thought that was really interesting, because, you know, we think, okay, this dark cloud is passing through my heart, and it's dark and it's black and it's cloudy. But then we talked about like the kind of the flip side of clouds, that clouds can bring nourishment and can bring shade and can bring comfort, and they, can, they're pregnant. The clouds are very pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So just the idea of like a cloud being so pregnant with really mystery and futures, and what is the shower of nectar that this cloudy cloud is going to be showering down on me, that I think this is a bad cloud, but maybe it's a nourishing, shading, pregnant, uplifting cloud. And also I was thinking of, like, I want to be, I don't want to be on the inside, and I don't want to be on the outside. So I'm in my heart, which I don't even know if I can't really see it. But anyway, my heart was like, I want to be in the inside and on the outside. So I want to be on the edge. So in my heart, there's like cracks, and outside and inside, and not being inside and not being outside, but being on the edge person. And let's see what else. Just like cracking it open. I was thinking of a pomegranate, like very hard thing that's really juicy inside, but it's like, how do you get to that juice?
Yeah.
Sort of almost have to smash it,
Yeah.
I
Oh
don't
my
know how they
gosh.
do it in those juice shops in India, but
Yeah.
you have like a crusher or something.
Yeah.
So like crushing open this hard shell that's around it and finding all the juice, and and like being able to, I guess pick up the rocks, that all these little dark places there's like rocks with worms underneath, but the worms are also living beings. So can I look at these worms? And I mean, like lotuses grow out of muck, right? Isn't that was something in one of your previous things that you said, how we have to be able to go to the muddy place. Is that how you if we want to find what? We have to go to the
Find
muddy.
the essence. Yeah. The flowers growing out of the mud.
Yeah, so that's a great symbol. I mean, I think as women, it's important to think of that the most beautiful symbol of perfection. We don't want to talk about perfection, but the greatest symbol of perfection, this beautiful symmetrical lotus, grows out of muck. And so to not be afraid to look at the muddy places and to delve into those muddy places, and to be able to, find the seeds of those lotuses that are growing in my broken, smashed heart.
Oh my gosh. That was just so beautiful, Mother Rukmini. I feel like that was I mean, first of all, it was almost just like the words just washed over me, and the visuals. I mean, this is why I love creativity, like the metaphors of the cloud and of the pomegranate and the rock with worms. I mean, once you think of visual metaphors like that, it just gives so much meaning. And I love what you said, that the cloud can be this dark, kind of daunting, it can obscure what's in the heart, and it can also rain nectar. And I think that's just so beautiful. Thank you so much. I love the simple prompt of the heart map and how much it kind of can unlock and open up.
And thank you for being so encouraging to all of us. Maybe I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm just down here with the worms. But you're so appreciative, like, oh, that's so beautiful. Those worms are so beautiful. And the smashed pomegranate is also beautiful. And so thank you for encouraging us. And it's so beautiful to hear that creativity and spirituality are really one and the same, that I want to be spiritual, but no, I can't be creative because my second grade teacher told me whatever.
Yeah, thank you. And I really believe it when it comes to encouraging people. Some people ask her, like, that's just like a weird wonky line. Like, why are you encouraging? And it's like, I genuinely believe any line on the paper is an act of courage. So anyone today who did any simple heart map, I think that's incredibly courageous, especially coming from a background where we might not have been encouraged in our art. And yeah, and I think if there's one takeaway from so much beautiful discussion and process we did today, it's that the creativity and spirituality is intertwined, and we are born with our creative power. It's inherent in us, and being able to use it is a way of connecting back to that creator who gave it to us. And so may this act as a little seedling of inspiration to maybe inspire you to practice different creative processes in your day and your week. And whether it's writing or whether it's drawing or anything could be creative, if we really bring our full heart to it. So I don't know if there's any other questions or reflections.
I have a question, Rukmini. When you showed the pictures of all those heart maps, were those heart maps that you had done, or were those heart maps that you collected in your workshops?
Yeah, they were from all different kinds of people. I've done a few workshops. I did one a few years ago where we had almost 400 people live on Zoom. It was incredible, from all over the world. And then people sent me their heart maps, and I made a little website. I have to find it. And it was called the Gallery of Heart Maps, and there was over 100. And I just thought it was the most like human, what's the word? It was the most encouraging thing to see. It was really like bringing the humanness alive and celebrating our uniqueness and our connection. So that was really cool. It was all from different people.
Wow. So could you share that with us, and we could post that on Urban Devi, those
Yes,
heart
yes,
maps that collect?
absolutely. I will get that web link and I'll share it.
That would be so beautiful for everyone to see.
Oh, yes, definitely. All right, I know we're just about 5-6 minutes in, so I'll pass it back to
and I
you,
just
Dominic.
wanted to share that we had some people suggest that if they were too shy to share their heart map, that if they can send a personal message to me, and then I can share it to Rukmini Poddar later on as well. So that
Yeah,
is an
please do.
option too. So please feel free to do that. If you can do that by either finding us on our WhatsApp groups, which I've shared the information, but I'll share it again. So we do have, if you want to continue with Urban Devi, if this is your first time or you just haven't joined our WhatsApp groups, we have a discussion group and an announcements only. Discussion group is very interactive. It's very busy. So just keep that in mind. And the announcements only, and you'll find all of us co-hosts on there. So you can always WhatsApp us and reach out to us that way. But I also just wanted, before we finish, Rukmini Poddar, if you could share about your book and how, if everyone wants to continue with these exercises, how they can continue to do so with your book and any other offerings that you have.
Yes, thank you so much. If anyone would like to dive more deeply into the world of creativity and emotions, you can see my book, Draw Your Feelings, and maybe we can post a link. Here's my website that I'll post, dearruxi.com. And please do check it out. I'm really honored to just share this time with you and would love to connect more with you online or, in whatever space we can. I can even share briefly my website. There's some more information about my book and workshops. I've stopped in the last few months while I was out, but I'm back and I'm starting up monthly workshops. I have a membership also, like a little community-based membership where we do all kinds of activities. We have once-a-month gatherings. We have little workbooks that I send to everyone. So there's a whole little ecosystem out there. Please do reach out if you're interested, because I would love to continue this work with you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rukmini Poddar. This has been amazing. Even for those of us that weren't in the breakout rooms, I feel like a lot of us were really inspired and kind of feeling that juicy creativeness coming up. So we really, really appreciate that.
If anyone feels inspired to pick up a little creative project, do a 10-day project, a 15-day project, I just want to plug that in there and kind of give you a little healthy challenge. And you can even message me or the group so we can encourage you. But you'll be surprised what can happen if you do a little daily practice, what will come out of you.
Yes, and I will, in the description for this video, when it goes up on Rukmini Walker's YouTube, I will put the links to all of the things that were shared in the chat. So there'll be information about the 100-day project and all of those things in there as well. So thank you again, and we will finish off with our dear Rukmini Walker, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rukmini. I call Rukmini Choti, so that means I'm a little Rukmini, so she's Choti to me. But this was so brilliant and so beautiful and so encouraging. So I really appreciate it so much. And I just wanted to say that month on Urban Devi. What is the date? Damodar Priya, what's the date of Urban Devi next
April
month?
28th.
Okay, April 28th. So our next guest on Urban Devi is Vrindavan Vinodini, who lives in New York. She has a couple of kids, and she's a wonderful person and sister. And she's going to speak on why do I react the way I do? And a little description. She says, often our reactive patterns, snapping at other people, shutting down, getting impatient, feeling overwhelmed, pushing ourselves to do more, gets the better of us. And it's common to feel helpless and think, I have no idea how to stop this, even though I know it's not good for me. So she says, in our time together, we'll explore what causes us to exhibit these reactive patterns, why we continue to engage in them, and how the Bhagavad Gita offers insights to become more intentionally responsive through interactive discussions and more. So I'm really looking forward to that next month. So please come next month, put it on your calendar, because these Urban Devi sessions are not the same Sunday every month because of holidays and things that pop up. And by the way, happy Easter to everyone, for anyone who celebrates Easter. So let's rise to the occasion of Easter. Haribol.